Sasha and welcome to the Colchester Campus Tour. We're starting off firstly here by the lakes. It is the nicest place on campus and it's a great way to study and have a barbecue and chill with your friends. The campus is made up of 5 interlinking squares and we're surrounded by all this incredible parkland, so let's get going. This is the Silbrad Student Center. Let's go inside and check it out. Here you'll be able to come for student information, support, the finance desk, the IT desk, and some study spaces. And now we're in the Creative Studios, which is located at the back of the Silbrad Center. Here's where you come for everything student media. Right next to the Silbrad Center, you'll be able to find the Lakeside Theatre Cafe. Let's go inside. And now let's head down to the Lakeside Theatre. Welcome to the Albert Sloman Library. Here you'll find 6 floors of books, archives, and one of the only 4 paternoster lifts in the UK. So this is our Ivor Crew Lecture Hall. This is where you're going to be coming for your graduation ceremony once you finish your degree. So opposite Ivor Crew, we've got Waterstone. So if you're like books like me, you'll be in there all the time. Next door is Art Exchange, our art gallery, which shows some really cool exhibitions. Let's head on to Square 4. Here you'll be able to come to one of our 2 stores to go and grab some bits and bobs. We've got the post office, and there's a lot of places to eat around Square 4, so go and check that out, my favorite stop bar. And this is Square 3. Here you'll find the SE reception, great coffee in the kitchen, lots of places to eat, and below us is our nightclub Sub-Zero. So this is the Lecture Theatre Building, also known as the LTB. You'll have quite a few lectures in here, and it's also the home to the SE Zone Cinema. And this is our sports arena. Next door, we have a sports hall with a gym and a climbing wall. And behind these, you'll find our sports pitches and acres of green space. As you can see, we've got some interesting looking architecture all over campus. For example, our carbon neutral business school, our Wivenhoe House Hotel, and the STEM Center. And that's the end of our tour now. Thank you so much for following me around campus, and I can't wait to see you soon.
Hello, and thank you for joining today's live stream for our Essex MBA for offer holders looking to start the MBA in January. My name is George Holmes. I'm the current Head of Marketing here at the University of Essex, but also I'm a current student part-time on the MBA programme. I'm joined today by two guests, Dayanne Acosta from Columbia, who is a recent graduate finishing her MBA in October of this year. We got to know each other whilst we were studying on the programme together, and Dayanne will be able to provide you with a lot of insights and tips for those in the final stages of the application process, and also for international students that are travelling to the UK and sort of getting to grips with the first few weeks of the programme. We're also joined by Neal Robertson, who is our MBA Recruitment Manager. Many of you will have likely already met Neal as part of the process of applying so far, and certainly would have received emails from him. Today, he'll be here as well to tell you more about the MBA and helping you understand everything that's going to be happening over the next couple of months as you make your way to Essex to start the MBA programme. I've got a lot of questions to ask Dayanne and Neal, but most importantly today is your chance to ask us some questions. So please do type questions in the live chat, and we'll make sure that they're being fed through to us, and we'll go over those together. I will say we won't be able to answer questions on your specific application details, CAS or registration during today's session, but we do have a session of live chat on Friday on our virtual events platform where you will be able to join us again and ask those questions specifically of the department. And of course, you're always welcome to email us at the mba@essex.ac.uk. Right, let's get started with some questions then.
Okay.
First up, the facilities that we have here at the University of Essex are incredible, particularly the Essex Business School. Neal, could you tell us a bit more about where the MBA students will be spending their time and the facilities that are available to them?
Yes, absolutely. So the MBA is taught on our Colchester campus, which is the university's largest campus, about an hour out of London by train to reach Colchester. And it's in our zero carbon business school building, which is a very impressive looking building. Hopefully some of the people watching us today will have seen our live tour that we did from the building on Monday, or they can catch up with it if they haven't seen it already. But it's zero carbon, has a huge inside winter garden. It creates a really nice relaxing place for MBA students to do their studies. Within that, we've got all the sorts of facilities you would expect from a modern university, but combined as well with some specialist MBA facilities. So included in that is our MBA syndicate room, for example, where, as you'll know, George and Dayanne as well, in between lectures, somewhere to go, meet and network, which is obviously such an important part of the MBA programme. So you've got those kind of open networking spaces and that there as well, dedicated to you on the MBA, as well as all of the other facilities we have as a school and a wider university as well.
Perfect. And Dayanne, what facilities did you find yourself sort of using the most or enjoying the most whilst you were studying on the MBA?
Yeah, definitely. I agree with Neal. It's a beautiful building, and you can find many places to study and to just hang out with your colleagues. One of the places that I like the most is the MBA suite, because it has different type of chairs and places to study, and it's just a very cozy environment. And the building is just very green. I just love it. And I have to say that being a student, I heard many times from other students that they would love to have classes at the EBS, because it's very well known to be like the most beautiful building at the university. So I enjoy it a lot, the facilities.
Yeah, I mean, the MBA suite, I think in particular, I really enjoyed that space, working in that. There's many different types of sort of little pockets of space in the room. Yeah. So you've got your cubicles to have sort of private work sessions or private little meetings, but then also there's quite a lot of open plan meeting space as well. So you can really, have any type of sort of meeting, engagement, project planning session, as well as the sort of the PCs and things that were available in that. And the fact that it is just for MBA students, I think, really helps that privacy, and the fact that you can, you know that when you're in there, you're just engaging with fellow MBA students only, and you can have really sort of good constructive discussions. So moving on from facilities, a lot of the, a big part of the importance of the facilities and feeling welcome within an environment is actually the team I would say, behind the MBA and the team that support our studies and support us as students. Dayanne, in terms of the key members of the MBA team, you know, and the ones that you'll get to know, who do you think, you know, did they provide you with a really sort of strong support network whilst you were studying the MBA with us?
Yes, they certainly did, and it's one of the things that I most highlight about the program, because it's like this, you get to see these familiar faces, and they are very approachable, right? From the MBA director, Nicholas, he's always willing to help, and James, who is the deputy director of the MBA. So everybody's like willing to help, whatever you need to ask, whatever assistance you need, you always find someone to help, administrative staff, and everybody is willing to help.
And Neal, I suppose you're very familiar with the MBA team. Can you tell us a bit about the wider team that supports students on their studies on the MBA?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Dayanne said, it's really nice obviously to hear you say, Dayanne, that you found that team to be, you know, really approachable and welcoming. And that's something that we obviously really hope for our MBA students. We know that they're adjusting to a lot, coming back from potentially many years in work before doing the MBA, and therefore a long time since they've previously studied in that kind of university or wider academic environment. And that then means there's often quite a lot of adjusting to do. So obviously you have the key people that Dayanne's mentioned, like the MBA Director, Professor Nicholas Forsands, and Deputy Director, Dr. James Fowler, and all of your academics and other experts we bring in to teach on the programme. But equally important are people like our Essex Business School Learning team, who often help our business school students to make that adjustment back to that world of academia, having been working for a long time as an MBA, and also people like our administrative team as well, helping with any questions they may have, difficulties that may arise. So really, as across the whole business school, and definitely true particularly on the MBAs, we have that sense of community, and we want our students to feel like that, to feel like they can come to us at any point, ask those questions, you know, get involved in everything that's happening in the school and feel very welcome to do so. And I think the team are probably no small part in making that happen.
Yeah, I'd agree sort of 100%. As someone that was coming back to study after a long time of work, I found that transition personally actually quite challenging. So it was really good to know that there was that support network there. And the fact is, you know, you're very much treated as a professional, rather than a sort of a student that's completely new to academia. So there is that sort of level of you know, sort of support and mutual respect as well, which I sort of found really just really helpful when I was studying. I
agree. I have to like always stop myself saying the word MBA student, because I don't think it sounds right. Like actually these are, you know, you're working professionals, many including yourself as a part-time student, you're carrying on that work whilst doing the MBA. So actually, yeah, it is, as you say, it's MBA candidate or MBA professional, whatever it is, it's quite a different type of person to those who are doing our other undergraduate and postgraduate programs. So we try and kind of make that distinction and make sure the experience we offer is one that's suitable for that type of person.
And I'm sure that many of the MBA candidates will know that the Essex MBA is accredited by AMBA, but potentially may not know actually what does that mean for students. So Neal, do you think maybe you could explain a bit more about what that accreditation means, and what does that mean in terms of the MBA candidates and their experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good question to ask, because I think it's something that when people are searching for an MBA, it's highly likely they will have heard of AMBA and they've heard that that's one of the accreditations you can get and it's a good thing, but actually really knowing what it means for them and if they should or shouldn't choose an AMBA accredited programme, I think you need to know a bit more about it. So AMBA stands for the Association of MBAs, and it is considered really to be the gold standard of MBA accreditations. And AMBA accredit what they deem to be the top 2% of business schools in the world offering MBA programs. In order to get that accreditation, they are assessing every single detail of the program. It's a very long process. It includes lots of reports that we had to submit, and it includes visits where they come and do inspections. They meet with our current MBA candidates, they meet with our MBA alumni, they meet with businesses who've hired MBA candidates when they finished their studies, They meet obviously all the teaching staff. They look at things like the quality of the teaching, the facilities that we offer, the admissions process that people watching this today will have been going through at the moment. That process is scrutinised by Amber as well. So knowing that we've achieved all of that over a number of years can really give our potential MBA applicants that kind of knowledge that it's a very good quality programme. It will then be something that hopefully their employers will recognise as well in the future, something and go on your CV to say that yes, you've studied at an Amber accredited institution. But I do think it's also important to look beyond just the accreditations that different programmes have and really get to understand what it is that sets one MBA apart compared to others. In the case, if you're comparing two programmes that both have Amber accreditation, which do you pick? I think that then comes down to a lot more of a personal choice about what that programme is like, what that business school is like, who you are as an individual. And I'm sure you'll have more questions for us as we go through this session kind of related to those points. So I'd say definitely it's really important, but don't make that the only thing you make your MBA decision on either.
And Dayanne, was that accreditation something, was that part of your decision-making process when deciding to study the MBA at Essex? And do you think, that accreditation what do you think it means for your future career, sort of moving forward?
Yeah, of course, it was part of the criteria I thought when I was choosing where to study, right? And just by knowing that, it just gives you the sense that it's a very qualified program with recognition, and actually now as a part of the alumni, I think this can give you some advantages in the market just by saying that my degree has this accreditation. And by the way, I was part of the AMBA visit during the evaluation process, and I got to know other important things that I didn't know. For example, I was part of the roundtable with the evaluators and the employers, and hearing them talking about their experiences with the MBA alumni and their comments about how do they view people from the Essex MBA is really nice to know their comments. They really appreciate people from the Essex MBA, and yeah, I think that was part of why the program got the recognition.
And as Neal sort of said before when we were talking about the accreditation, obviously that's not just what helps you come to that decision about sort of choosing to study at Essex. So what other factors for you sort of helped you decide that this is the journey that you want to go on? The Essex MBA is the right program for you.
Yeah. So one of other factor that it was really important to me was the sustainability approach, and it is very practical during the program. You actually learned modules and take modules that has to do with the subject, and also a general view of the sustainability around the program. I think it's a very practical subject that everybody should be interested in, and that also caught my attention when I was looking for programs where to study.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think not just sustainable business, but sort of working with people in a sustainable way was something I really enjoyed about the modules that we did on that. And actually, I think it's the mantra of the business school, isn't it? It's to do business better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to do it in a way that, as we say, is sustainable. So we've spoken a bit about the experience. There are a couple of, I know that there are quite a few unique features or like sort of additions to the course that can add some value, like the Shark Tank sort of experience, the process. Dayanne, is that something that you did? Is that something that you took part in whilst you were studying? And what is the Shark Tank experience? What was that like?
Actually, that's how my experience started. Back then, when I participated in this event with my business idea, and I found that really nice that I can actually participate in this kind of event where I was pitching in front of 5 Sharks, because it's the Shark Tank, so, and I had the possibility to get a scholarship to study here. So that's how my journey started, and it was really rewarding, not just the scholarship, but of course the experience itself, because I got to know other entrepreneurs in Latin America that also had their own business ideas, and why not learn from them.
And so that's obviously something, the Shark Tank thing is something you're obviously involved in as well, I imagine, Neal.
Absolutely.
What is it like? I think, you know, when we're having this entrepreneurial focus, I would say, for the program. Could you tell us a bit about that focus and how events like the Shark Tank sort of tie into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Dayanne was saying, the Shark Tank is something we run for people either when they're applying for the programme or even before they're applying for the programme as prospective students. And we've run a number of them over the world so far, and one of those was one that Dayanne took part in. And that really like kickstarts that entrepreneurial focus. So right from that point, you know, it's my job to go out there and find people who want to come and do the MBA with us, and that's exactly what those events are about, and attracting to the programme the type of people who are interested in that entrepreneurial mindset and way of thinking, and having done that right at the beginning in the recruitment process, then we obviously want to bring that to life on the programme when our MBAs arrive with us as well, and that's something that we obviously aim to do. So we have a focus on making the programme entrepreneurial, and by that we don't just mean it's therefore only suited to people who want to start their own business. We believe in what we call both entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and intrapreneurship's a phrase that's used a lot less, but it essentially means the idea of applying an entrepreneurial mindset to the way in which you do business wherever that business is. So if you're working for somebody else or running a business or in part of a family business, whether you're in a low down position in an organisation when you're just starting out, or whether you're a senior leader, you can think in an entrepreneurial way. That could be your willingness to take risks, it could be the speed at which you make decisions, it could be thinking innovatively and doing things very differently to how it's been done before. But by thinking in that kind of entrepreneurial way, you can really succeed in business, and that's something we really want our programme to offer for all of our students. Ways that we achieve that, it is built into many aspects of the programme, including some of the modules that you'll have taken, Dayanne and George as well. I'm not sure if you've done them yet, but we have specific modules looking at things like business model innovation, looking at those kind of entrepreneurial skills. And we also work very closely with the university's Essex Startup service, which is a service for students who want to start their own business when they finish their degree. So that's open to everyone across the university, not just our MBAs, but we work particularly closely with them for the MBA to provide bespoke workshops and opportunities for our MBAs to develop those kind of wider entrepreneurial skills that they can then use in later life, whether they do indeed start their own business or not.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, because I was on the MBA with people like Dayanne and with individuals that did want to start their own business. That was the reason for doing the course. I personally don't really want to start my own business, but for me, the course was much more about developing those skills, knowledge base that can help me progress within the business, the industry that I'm already in, and particularly some of the modules like leading with impact and leadership was something that I found really interesting and engaging right from the offset, and is already helping me, I would say, in my work. So it's a really good point that it does cover those different audiences, and there is quite a diverse collection of people that do the course for different reasons. So I'm sure, as you know, some of the people watching, offer holders for the course, probably want to know a bit more about the actual nuts and bolts of the sort of, the structure and the specificities of the course. So I wonder if we could cover that a bit more now, particularly as there are, as myself, I was part-time student, Dayanne, you were full-time, so there are these different audiences that can benefit from knowing this sort of stuff. So Neal, could you tell us a bit about how the course is structured, particularly for maybe each of those different groups?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would say is that we deliberately join all those structures together to give all of us MBAs, the opportunity to learn from each other and that wide range of backgrounds. So there tends to be sort of a kind of typical type of full-time student, and they are mostly our international students. And then there's a slightly more typical type of part-time student who will all be UK students because of visa requirements. And we think it's really important not to separate those two groups across the whole MBA experience, but to actually join them together and make sure that they get opportunities to learn from those often quite different backgrounds that they may have come from. So in order to do that, we've therefore developed our modular approach to teaching the MBA. So whether you're on a full-time or part-time version of the programme, every time you do a module, it will be self-contained within a week. So it's usually 4 days of workshops for that module, which can be a range of different activities. That could be some more sort of traditional lectures like you might have had at undergrad, but it's also likely to include more practical and engaging sessions, opportunities to do group work, to look at case studies, to hear from guest lecturers and business experts, to do presentations and feedback your own ideas and experiences from the sector that you may have worked in. So you'll have 4 days worth of those workshops in total. Roughly it's about 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. So it is full days and all taking place within 1 week. And then when that finishes, you'd then be set the assignment or the main assignment for that module, which I'm sure you're very used now to both of you to doing lots of MBA assignments. The full-time programme is very intensive. It's more intensive than probably any other master's programme that we offer. So you're doing a new module every other week pretty much throughout the whole of the academic year, particularly the first 2 terms is where most of it's sort of front-loaded. And then towards the end, you're getting an opportunity to work on then your MBA project and your final business planning module as well, which runs very differently to the others. That's a business simulation activity. Dayanne, you'll have done that already. George, you've probably still got that to come, but it's a week-long business simulation working with a local entrepreneur on a business that he used to run, and it's a very practical way. You work in small groups and you act as if you're the board of that company for a week. You make decisions, you see the impact of those decisions in a simulated environment, and you really try to add value to that organisation. So towards the end, you move away from that like week on, week off format and instead do some of these more specialist and different experiences that really kind of are the culmination of the whole MBA experience. So that's kind of how it works. Then for full-time, for part-time, you then just divide all those elements up across however many years you're taking the programme. So we have formal 2-year routes, a 3-year route, and then also a modular one, which can be anything up to 5 years. And we've got actually a very good blog post on our website where we kind of explain for those different part-time versions, breaks down how many modules there are, as I've sort of just run through, and when they're likely to take place, and to help really give people an idea of how you can fit the MBA in around your work. So I definitely suggest people have a search for that if they haven't seen it already and they are embarking on that part-time version, to get sort of a bit more information really about what I've said.
That's great, thank you. And before we go into, Dayanne, your experience of that, a few things. So we have had a question on live chat, which I'll quickly get into. But I will say, if we do have anyone watching that hears a banging sound, just for context, the studio that we're based in at the moment, we are underneath one of the fan zones for the World Cup. And I think so. It sounds like the Germany-Japan game is on, and it sounds like someone might have scored. Maybe not. So if you do hear banging, it's most likely that. So we can only apologise for that. We couldn't work around a World Cup, unfortunately.
No. Did they not reschedule that for us?
Did try and get them to postpone, but it didn't really work. So the question that we had from the audience sort of relates to structure, but it's about actually more. Is there an induction week? Is there a sort of sessions to help people manage that introduction to the course?
Yeah, absolutely, and that is something that we have been developing in every single intake really for the last couple of years, is to make sure that induction is a really good opportunity for people to really embed themselves within the MBA and really understand what it's about, and to address some of those challenges I mentioned earlier, like that gap between the last time they've studied and what it may have been like then and what an MBA is like. So it will be the very first week on the programme, so that will start from, I think it's Monday the 16th of January, if that's a Monday. That will be the start of the MBA induction for our January cohort, and that will be a week-long set of activities, an opportunity to meet the cohort who are joining with you in January, as well as to meet the October starters who are already here, to meet your MBA team, to have a one-on-one discussion with either the director or deputy director, so they can get to know you a bit more, and also to learn some kind of vital skills like things like how to use the library, how to access the facilities we have here, and to complete the final stages of the registration process as well can take place during that week. So you'll have completed registration hopefully online before that, but that's your right to study check that all of our new students across the whole university have to do. So all of that will kind of be done and dusted within that first week, and then from the Monday of the week after, it's straight into your first MBA module.
So Dayanne, two parts really then. So one, that induction week that was mentioned, is that something that I know I did, is that something that you found really useful sort of coming to the university? And then the second part is more generally about the structure, you know, that very sort of, as Neal said, quite intense structure of all contained within 1 week. How did you find that? How did you find working in that sort of framework?
Yeah. So first of all, about the induction, I found it very, very useful. It takes you step by step where to go, right, or what to do. So it's very fundamental for the new students to take it. And regarding the structure, it's a very intensive program, as Neal said, and I lived that, and I went through all the modules, and it's a weekly modules program. You find that the program is very intensive, and is in a very fast-paced environment. It's about the time management skills, and you learn through the program how to build those skills, and that's the interesting part, because you learned and you develop those abilities that actually you need for the real world.
Yeah, I'd say time management for me as well. So
Yeah.
as a part-time student, still working full-time, balancing the course requirements and the commitment with working 9 to 5 every week as well, was absolutely essential for me to get right from the get-go, and obviously there was the support to do that. And I think for me, some of the works, that structure of, as part-time, I'm doing it over 2 years, so I would have sort of 1 week, and then it would be 4 or 5 weeks until the next sort of module for me, so plenty of time between them. And I found that really beneficial for my workplace, to be able to say, you know, I know for the next 6 months or however long, these are the weeks that I need, either you know, to take off from work, from annual leave, or to still just to work around that. I think I found that probably easier to manage than if I was having 1 day every week, 1 day a week every week. I think I really enjoyed that, and it also helped me plan ahead and organise, knowing what module I have in 5-6 weeks time. I can really do the pre-reading, which I think is absolutely essential to understanding the module. You know, you're doing that module in a week. The week before, you know, you'd spend, even a few weeks before, I'd spend on the pre-reading, getting to grips with it so that I can feel like ready to start on day one. And on time management and sort of preparing for modules, leading into sort of another section about actually preparing for the programme, it would be good for each of us, I suppose, for the audience to sort of think about our top tips, I would say, to prepare to start. It's not long now, January. It's you know, it's mere weeks away rather than many months. So I think start with you, obviously, Neal. What tips would you have for someone that is due to be sort of coming to start with us in January?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've tried to prepare in advance. There's a few tips, feeling this sort of question might come. So the first I'd have is actually, I'm going to use this as a bit of a cheeky plug for an email we're probably going to be sending you next week if you're an offer holder for the programme watching this, which is we'll be providing you access to what we call Moodle X, which is our virtual learning environment. So you'll have both used Moodle whilst on the programme. Moodle X is a version of that you can access before registering, and it really gives our incoming MBAs the opportunity to immerse themselves a bit in the programme and to learn more about the background, view the timetable and the ways of working and things like that in advance. So the first thing I would say is don't ignore that email when you get that. Sign up, access the Moodle X and kind of access all the kind of preparatory information on that. Next point is to really try to get to know the cohort in advance if you can. And to do that, we have a Facebook group for our incoming MBA. So as soon as your place with us is fully confirmed, that will include us receiving your deposit if you're required to pay one. we will send a link out for those MBAs to access that group, and you'll meet your other people coming in January, as well as the people who are already here in October, from October 2022. So do join that as well, and just say hello. You don't need to spend hours on this stuff, but just by saying hello, this is where I'm from, this is what I'm doing, it gives you an opportunity to feel hopefully a bit more at home and part of the family before you get here. And I think that can potentially help to settle nerves quite a lot. If you found that, Dayanne, just knowing a few names of the people that are going to be there with you, I think can really help. And my final tip, if I can squeeze in 3, would be to think now about what it is that you're hoping to get out of the MBA programme. Everyone will be different on that, but a bit of a plea from me that I hope some of our incoming MBAs will listen to is, please don't just make it about the grades you're going to get from the programme, because I think for the type of programme that an MBA is, you'll be missing something if that's all you focus on. So think about what it is you're hoping to get out of it, perhaps for your professional development, for your personal development, for networking opportunities, for future careers. So you're thinking, yes, about that, certificate that you're going to get at the end, and of course be really proud of, but also thinking, I'm going to spend a year for a full-time student or a few years for a part-time student, away from what I normally do, and spending time and money doing this. So what is it I want to get out of the MBA for me? And then that makes sure when you do arrive and when you meet and have those discussions with the director and deputy director and other people on the programme, you've kind of already got in your mind what it is you're hoping to get out of it. You can tell them that, and hopefully then they can give you tips as well to say, okay, how can the programme deliver that for you? So that's sort of a little bit of a know yourself question before you get here, I think.
And Dayanne, for you, what again, a couple parts. What did you do to prepare? And maybe this one's maybe a bit of a curveball. Is there anything you wish you had done before that you didn't do, that you thought would have helped you prepare for when you started back in October last year?
Yeah. I think I'm going to start for the second question. So first of all, one of the tips that I really recommend is like to be mentally prepared for the fast-paced environment, right? For the weekly modules, that even though it's very intensive, it's a very intensive paced, it's very rewarding at the end, because think about that you can get your MBA degree in 1 year, all product of your hard work is very rewarding. So that's number one. And number two, it can be have an open mindset, because through the program you will be randomly assigned to different teams, and these teams are very multicultural teams. Like you get to know many people from different places, different backgrounds, and if you have an open mindset, you can take the most of it. And actually is preparing you for the real world, because when you get to work, you don't decide who are you going to work with, right? So that's my second tip. And as a third tip, I would say bring a couple of very warm coats. Yeah.
That's very, very fair enough, particularly for those coming from hotter climates. I think I was well prepared for the chilliness, I suppose, living in the UK. Thank you. I think that's really good, sort of solid advice all round. To echo sort of what was said, for me, the thing I really just took value in preparing was getting to grips ahead of each module, but even before the course, like the induction content, not just turning up on the day and expecting that to be the start. Really, like the more prep you do, the more comfortable you will feel coming in, the more confident you're going to feel coming in. So for me, it was using the Moodle X and Moodle platforms to basically like ingest as much information as I could before I started, and I actually really enjoyed it. Like I was coming back from study after having been out of study for quite a long time and working. I felt quite like energized by it, the sort of new chapter, new adventure that I was sort of going on. So that's something I did to prepare, was really just make sure I was, reading all of the content, watching the videos, just feeling like turning up on the day, feeling prepared, rather than feeling maybe a little bit nervous, not knowing what to expect. So that's before you start, but then obviously that induction week is there to sort of help you. And the first few weeks of the program, as Dayanne said, it's a bit of a whirlwind because you do have to sort of get used to that really brisk pace of the modules. So what would you say would be your top tips for someone that's at that stage? Actually, they're here, they're on the course, it's the first few weeks of the program. What would you say to them to make sure that they're getting the most out of that experience?
You want me first?
Dayanne first.
Okay, so the university hosts a very interesting activities in those first weeks. So my recommendation is to engage them in those activities. It's really fun, and there are many things to do during those weeks, and you get to know people from different masters and people from all around the world. So that definitely would be one. A second one is is very simple, but is helpful. Don't forget your student ID for your classes, and don't forget to tap your ID at the beginning of the classes. That's how your attendance is recorded, right? And that would be for me.
What about you, Neal? One quick tip.
Yeah. I think it kind of follows on probably from the first one that Dayanne gave about kind of getting into all of those different opportunities and making the most of it. My one would just be get to know everybody you possibly can. So whether that's the people on the programme with you, whether that's MBA staff, wider EBS staff, other people across the university, people who come from your country in a different SU society, whatever it might be, just get to know people, because I think people will be such a big part of the time that you spend here on the programme, and that's the time when everyone is going through that same thing. Everyone's looking to meet new people, make new connections, so do that as much as you can within the first couple of weeks, and I think a lot of the rest of your experience will follow on from that.
That's great, thank you. So I think we've got about 5-6 minutes left.
Okay.
So one thing that a lot of people watching this may be wondering, or they might be at different stages of the process. Their offer, they've maybe got their offer, or they have got their offer starting in January, and we know that it can be quite a complex process to sort of be coming to the UK, particularly if students are international. So we're going to just talk a little bit now about sort of a bit more information to help offer holders manage that process.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So Neal, could you tell us quickly what stage should everyone that is watching be at by now?
Yeah, so the deadline in order to meet any conditions on the offer that our MBA applicants would have received, and to pay the deposit if they're required to pay one, and also to accept the offer, was Friday just gone, so Friday at the end of last week. So hopefully everyone watching this will be in a position where they've done all of those things. A bit of an appeal from me, if you haven't done all three of those, then please do get in touch with us as soon as you possibly can on our MBA at Essex email address that we mentioned at the start, and the email address will have been contacting you on as well, and let us know kind of those circumstances, and we'll do our best to help if you can. But hopefully that's the stage you'll be at. As a result of doing all those things, so meeting the conditions, paying the deposit and accepting, if you're an international student, that will then mean that you'll move through to the first part of our CAS issue stage, and you'll need your CAS or your confirmation of acceptance for studies in order to then get your visa. So hopefully everyone's in the process now where they've done those first bits, they're now in that CAS process. Our admissions team will kind of give the details of that process, and you can keep an eye on how your CAS is doing on your My Essex applicant portal. But also, if at any point our applicants want to reach out to us, please do use that MBA Essex address, and we'll be more than pleased to help you. Is that another goal?
Yeah, it sounds like a goal's gone in. I'll be checking BBC Sport, I think, once this is over. And so, Dayanne, this is obviously a process that you have gone through yourself, coming to study the MBA. How did you find that process?
Well, I remember submitting all my documents, and my personal experience was really nice. It didn't take that long from the university, and especially from the MBA the marketing team and recruitment team. They were very quick in answering my questions, and I asked everything I could. Because
I didn't even pay Dayanne to say that.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a good tip. Obviously, the team is there to support, isn't it? So if you do have questions
Like,
at all during the process,
Yeah,
they're there to help.
Yeah, well, the point is like you as an international student, you have many questions about how is the life there, what would you need to get when you are there, what would you need to bring when you are in your country, from your country, and things like if you can drink water from the university, if you can things, simple things, but everything was answered very quick, and I had all my questions solved on time.
And how did you find that process of actually arriving in the UK, Dayanne, to be coming from overseas, arriving in the UK, lots of change. How was that process, and how did it actually feel to be starting at Essex?
So I brought my 2 warm coats. That helped. And it has been quite an experience. I came here and I lived in the student accommodation in the university, which I found one of the greatest choices I could make. I was living in North Towers, and I got to have flatmates from all around the world, and now they are my family here. I'm not living in the university anymore because I'm not longer a student, but they are my family here. So yeah, I had a wonderful starting, like everything was good, the accommodation, the university's facilities. Yeah, and the classes, I started the classes, and you get surprised when the first week is gone, and so the first module is gone. So you need to take the most advantage you can of each module, of each week, because when you see it, like you have finished the program and you don't realize when did it happen.
And so in terms of this year, Neal, for those that are arriving in sort of January, what are the plans for the MBA Induction Week?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, it'll be a whole week long of activities. So that will include on the very first day, you'll get an opportunity to meet everybody over a lunch and to meet some important people from the programme. You'll be finding out more about the expectations, meeting all the different teaching people there. So we really would encourage everyone to make sure they are here by the latest, really, the day before that induction starts, because that is really such an important and integral part of the MBA programme. And if you come after that, you'll probably find you'll feel like you've missed out at that point, and it may be even harder to make that initial adjustment. So get here, right from the beginning, take part in all of that. It will be pretty much a whole week of activities, but there'll be some downtime as well, which will give you an opportunity to do some of those admin bits you might also have to do, going out to buy a warm coat if you've not taken Dayanne's advice and you're struggling with the British climate in January. But yeah, helping to settle in, where you're living, get last minute bits you might need for your flat or whatever it might be, as well as actually the sort of formal activities that are on your induction timetable. And then, as Dayanne said, before you know it, your first module will start, and before you know it, the first module will have finished. So really take the downtime that you have got in that first week. That's probably just as valuable as all those crucial activities I mentioned that you've got in that first week.
Yeah, I think for me, the induction week, what a part of it I really enjoyed was some of the more like this. I mean, I enjoyed all of it, obviously, but some of the parts I really enjoyed were the more sort of social elements of, obviously, you are attending lectures with these people again and again and again, in some situations like living with them, working with people in groups, and some of the more social activities I found really beneficial. Being part of the MBA community, really diverse from all around the world, but even professional backgrounds. I was in close contact with someone who's a solicitor, someone who works in healthcare, someone who works in fellow higher education employee, and then banking and things like that. I found it, the social side of it was really good, part of that induction.
An engineer.
An engineer, exactly. Yeah, how can I forget? So that diversity of background, of culture, of where people have come from is a really big part of what makes that social atmosphere of the MBA really, really beneficial. So conscious we do need to wrap up shortly. So Dayanne, I'm going to put you on the spot with one final question. What was your favourite part of the Essex MBA experience?
And I have the answer to that question. It was the business planning module. It takes you from it takes you to a different environment. It's not a module that is taught. It's an intense week where you learn how to buy a business, how to transform that business, and how to sell it again. And you have different opportunities to pitch your business and in front of investors. And it's a simulation week, and it feels so real that you really need to work hard during that week with your team. And during that week, you can get stressed, you can think that it's not gonna come to an end while you do all the necessary things in front of investors. You make a strategy plan, how to sell your business, which stuff you need, like hiring human resources and things like that. It's everything what you need to put in life a business. So it was quite experience. It made me feel I was like in a real business situation, and at the end you need to write a self-reflective essay. And when I was doing that, I learned a lot about myself, what I could have been done better, and when I put myself, like when I am going to a real job, what are my learnings from this? So definitely that's my favorite thing of this journey.
Well, I've not done that part of it yet, so you've got me very excited. I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you for that, Dayanne, and thank you, Neal. Thank you, Dayanne, for joining us.
You're very welcome.
We've obviously spoken about a lot, and hopefully the audience at home watching this will feel much more informed, much more enlightened, and ultimately much more excited, I would say, about starting with us. That is the intent. And thank you to everyone who's watched this live, who watches it back. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch us, to have this sort of conversation. A few things just that I need to talk about before we wrap up. If you do have specific questions, we've obviously been answering questions today. There are some that we haven't been able to answer about individual sort of applications, but we do have an email that is monitored closely. We try our best to get back to you as soon as possible. So please do, if you do have any questions, contact us at mba@essex.ac.uk. We are also hosting a live chat event as part of our virtual week this week. That will be on Friday, the 25th of November, so this Friday, between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. UK time. That is a chance for you to ask any questions that you want, because you'll be engaging with colleagues from the Essex Business School on a one-to-one basis. So you can use that as an opportunity to ask any question. And what I will say is no question is too silly. We can even answer questions about which coats to buy, as sort of Dayanne kept talking about. That is also hosted on our virtual platform. So you've obviously been sent links to that. It's the same platform as today's event has taken place on, and that is on Friday, the 25th of November. So this Friday, between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. UK time. In terms of what else is available on the platform, we have a lot of on-demand content. We have a tour of the business school. We filmed a tour on earlier this week. We also have a 360 tour of the facilities. There are videos from our director, Nicholas, on the platform. We also have profiles of some of our academic members of staff, some of our alumni as well. So there's a lot of information on there, and I would really recommend you taking the time to go through it all to make sure that you are as familiar as possible with the course ahead of starting in January. Finally, I'll say it again, thank you very much for joining us today. We really hope that you've enjoyed the session, and I'm sure I speak for Neal, I speak for everyone at Essex Business School to say that we cannot wait to meet you when you start with us in January.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.